There's only one thing that you can count on, and it's a Crowan tweet. He is the prophet of reverse sweeps. If you see one, you know what to expect. Crowan, I know you're watching. We'll see if we get that tweet out there. Go check the social medias. But the action here now, Endemic, they said, what action? We're macroing the heck out of this game, and you're going to chase us the whole way around. So far, they've been successful.
Yeah, and I don't see a stop in here. When it comes to battleground selection, anything to be able to get that macro game sense advantage, I feel like that is a huge advantage for Endemic here as a roster. For Simplicity, it's going to be finding ways to get those team fights into their favor and go in with the Cursed Hollow here.
I'll say this, is that, well, you're like, oh, well, we should get macro, or we should find something we can skirmish on. And I 1,000,000,000% agree with that's more than my 1,000% earlier. I hope you know that.
All right.
And I'm like, I am right there with you. I want to see some macro, or I want to see a smaller battleground, something you can skirmish on. But there is one thing. That if we see Simplicity go down not too distant memory road, but also distant memory road, they have run an Illidan composition. Hey, and this would be the battleground that if you want to get wild and you want to force out a lot, here you go.
And this is a battleground that macro and getting out rotated does exist, but it's very different than every other big battleground and every other battleground that can happen. So much so that I do think out of the remainder of the battleground pool, other than the Battlefield of Eternity I suggested earlier, I think this is probably second on my list here. So for Simplicity, a small silver lining here. Questions are still going to exist, though, when it comes to some of the hero priority, and if we still see them stick to the same approach here with those death ball comps.
Do you see Endemic picking up Arthas in their 1-2 like they did the other day?
I think we're probably not going to see that here.
Yeah.
Man. We'll find out, though, with the Sergeant Hammer taken away, removing some of the tri-lane pressure that's been the go-to ban for Endemic throughout the entirety of the series, as you heard them not wanting to deal with that like they did last time against Simplicity.
I've seen that clip for Cursed Hollow like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But that's the first time that I think I noticed that during that Galso portion up at the top, a level up sprung up above his head. I'm like, whoo, memory road right there.
Genji ban here from Simplicity. Trying to figure out if there's any must ban from Endemic's perspective. Ridding of the Abathur.
Takes away an Abathur Illidan comp.
Yeah, it removes a little bit of fear there. Other than that, though, not too concerning. I don't know if Abathur would be a hero I think that Simplicity stands out more with or struggles a little bit more with here, but going with the Dahaka.
I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I anticipated with the Abathur ban that Endemic would go down the Dahaka route again. They played very well around the global.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a great opportunity for them. So this might catch Endemic off guard a little.
I agree with you.
But it does leave out Hanzo, who is insane on those bosses again.
And when worrying about that out macro game, having a Hanzo on your side, because a lot of that macro game does rely around the bosses, it usually gives you the advantage onto your side. And Jayhao, we got ourselves the first white main available in this series. First time selected. Have the chance to move into a double support Tyrande.
That's what I'm thinking too.
And you put that with a Hanzo race capability on a boss. I haven't gotten to see it yet, but I can tell you this much, it's going to be fast. That thing deletes at that point in time.
Mark, scatter. The Maiev. Ride or die at this point on that Maiev. They're going in. They'll pick up the Tyrande themselves this time.
I think that's a very smart play from Simplicity. It not only provides them a little bit more boss threat on their own, but denying that from Endemic is going to be very, very valuable. It also provides a lot for offlane pressure strategies because Owl is a pretty good delay tactic. Dahaka in the offlane and having a Tyrande together is very, very good, especially post-4 with the increased lunar flare range on a battleground that has a channeled objective like Cursed Hollow. And then the Li Ming taken away by Endemic, not wanting to see the resets here from Hossein friends.
Yeah, if they can get that out, the Tyrande can buy time for the global to get minor advantages in that XP soak. We'll see if Endemic does find a response. If Endemic doesn't go into the double support route, we've seen a lot of Junkrat. Junkrat has a lot of contention around that. We've seen that before. I've said it 1,000 times, though. When will I get another Michael Udall Falstad?
I'm going to just say this. When am I going to get a Medivh on Cursed Hollow? The fact that he's made it this far through this draft? Medivh.
Never heard of him.
I'm actually amazed he made it post-secondary ban phase and still lower value. I mean, these are not teams that normally that go to when it comes to Medivh play, but Kursalo, he can be such a terrifying hero, even more so when you consider Tyrande playstyle, having that pseudo support but a reliable DPS output like the Medivh and having an answer to the shielding. Just thought that'd be the case, but at least for now, still not going to be picked up.
You know, Prismat made a very interesting comment. He's like, well, if we're not going to get Medivh, Medivh is basically a second support, so they can find that second support between the White Mane and the Tyrande or even the Uther that they run into. So Dansky's on there. It's just a matter of Michael Udall's comfortability onto the Hanzo. And conspicuously absent is any type of ranged assassin here. Maiev is an assassin. Tyrande kind of used to be one. But this is all in.
It is. Very much so. And the Warden's Cage makes me go, this has got to be a Starfall game, but now I wonder if it's going to be a Shadow Stock attempt in really using all the melees for that kind of Deathball skirmish crowd control advantage by catching them off guard a little bit with rotational advantages here. Not gonna lie, I mean, though this is, I thought, one of the better battlegrounds for Simplicity, this is again it's not unheard of, but it's not the go-to composition. I feel like they're the team that has, you know, the need to be able to prove here in this type of situation, so I'm concerned.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. As in, where does your damage come from?
Tyrande. I know, I agree with you. It's tough. I think areas that you can make up for it. I know this is going to be a little bit of a meme, but you can alter outside of going with Taunt on Garrosh and maybe look for the AoE damage there. Another way to be able to make up through it is through Dark Swarm build on the Armor Shred coming out from the Dahaka in this type of circumstance as well, and then rely on the reset mark. J-How, I'm doing my best.
This is so unique for so many reasons that it's almost hard for us to break down. But, you know, we can be surprised at times. We've been surprised lately with our meta.
Yeah, no joke.
Now we're going to see just how surprised Simplicity can make us. Endemic playing their style, the Junkrat for Michael Udall. Loves that hero, gives him that rotational control. For Endemic, though, delaying tributes, stealing tributes, poking down tributes. The sustain is there. The deny is there. The boss play definitely much in their favor. But overall, it's just a well-balanced. Like, we don't have to do a whole lot. The burden is on you, Simplicity, to make things happen.
And suddenly, what's going to be, what can Simplicity make happen here with it? We'll find out here. One also thing to keep in mind that I'm going to be looking at a lot throughout this game. This is the first Garrosh Tyrande synergy we've actually seen. How many times do we realistically get the flip into Groundbreaker set up from Tyrande? That's the easier version. What I think we may have to see is actually a Groundbreaker into Lunar Flare into Garrosh flip setup, because not having all the time the opportunity to catch up to that target, especially with all the crowd control coming in.
This has to be a judgment game, though, right?
So, like, due to the deviation of the composition, my brain immediately goes, yeah, like that would be the outlier. You know, who out of all the heroes on the side of Simplicity have the major deviation, since the composition is so different within their talents that I would expect to come to light? Tyrael is at the forefront of that, but then when I think about how many melees they have, I go, no, this has got to be a sanctification in this type of situation. If you're going to deathball in, Sanct is the go-to out of all those. But it is tough. It's an interesting position. And the other remaining thing that makes me go, I don't think they can commit to the judgment, would just be based on the fact that they have the Blaze for the bunker capabilities themselves, got the habits at level 1 for the self-unstoppable, if that becomes a pressure and threat target onto him. But that was my first thought process, knowing that, especially having Hosty, you know, on that Tyrael, that something's got to change there.
See how it unfolds. Small lead in the early game for Endemic. Wave clear is a problem as well, and I look at the composition now. They're slow to pick up their night camp, which means they're going to be slow to respond to this camp here in the middle, pushing in for Endemic. And even when they do spawn, and this is no easy clear. This is very likely an entire wall falling down here.
And it only gets a little bit worse in the fact that Cap was unable to flip the actual wizard over the wall, so it made it to where it's a safer defense for Endemic towards the siege. See what Simplicity can make happen with their camp. It's going to be important that they get some way to win on that chip damage whenever they do get those mercenaries, because Macro, as we talked about, is not in their favor. Xuna is the only, honestly, the only hero on their composition that you can write home about at all when it comes to Macro, and Junkrat single-handedly deals with that pretty well.
Well, now Simplicity will have their turn at the push. Johanna does do well to deal with this. No other damage nearby.
Nice combo.
Look at the flip over.
Body blocks and Lunar Flare.
Yeah, these body blocks are very well done. The gate has fallen, and now Simplicity getting a lot more out of their own punch. There was, however, the siege camp that is up at the top lane. That will keep Dahaka there somewhat longer.
Normally the clear for Dahaka is through the drag of bringing them into your front wall, so still has to wait a little bit for that. As he's ridding of that, K1 Pro gets interrupted by B-Kid there with that blinding light. Still one giant remains up in the top lane. Can B-Kid get the interrupt, flip away, and look at that. First tribute here over to Simplicity.
Something, I didn't get a quick look at Michael. You don't know if he was waiting on the charges, because there are the charges on the grenades, but there was a delay in those coming out. Maybe expecting another one while he was getting those as B-Kid. We'll meet King Caffeine in the bush. Throw around a blind, a shield, and Junkrat's like, wait a minute, hold on. Look
at K1 Pro's flank, too. That was a really good concussion mine there from Udall.
That tribute spawned really fast, it feels like.
Dude, sometimes these tributes, since the UI adjustment, the timing of them has seemed to me very, very short on something. I'm like, did we just have a double tribute? Like,
yeah. Because there's a timing window that they can spawn in. I think that's very important. It's not on a set timer, it's a window. So it could be quicks, could be a little longer, depending on where it lands there.
Only other battleground, I believe, with that kind of adjustment is things like Blackheart's Bay.
Yeah.
Has a really unique time window as well. Cap gets slowed here by the oil. See if anybody on Endemic wants to try and take punishment there, as he was a little bit out. Hosty not in position for the Eldruins, now flanking. Stacking of interrupts there is a big setback here for Endemic.
Oh, K1 Pro's got him. He's got him. Dansky, see if he has agility, but Zuna's coming in from the backside. Will land. There's going to be one to fall. Biggie trying to survive, but the into the fray maybe, but K1 Pro finds himself in the back line. They'll get the stun on B-Kid. K1 Pro with the blink over puts himself in body block position. Will easily get a 3-man kill there.
All in and get the kills here, Jay Howe. If this keeps up, Simplicity's going to be in a great position, but we do have to look at this here from Endemic's position, and also the fact that, yes, Simplicity is about to round a huge power spike, but also they are struggling in the macro and sieging capabilities with their composition. So if you're Endemic, you do have this, hey, we can wait this game out for a later point and recover more easily than that of Simplicity, like in games 1 and 2. So, I mean, this is extremely grim for Endemic based on that great execution from Simplicity, but I'm still looking at this game and I go, something has to be done still on Simplicity's end before they can write home and be like, you know, we got ourselves the win and extend this series.
One thing that could be a key component for Endemic is the subdue talent picked up by Johanna. There are so many melee targets that the likelihood of him completing that is much greater. You get the baseline control just hitting 2 heroes with that punish, but getting 4 with that 1, the amount of control that you could have on that death ball style, it can't be stopped once Sanctification is down if that comes in. But you have, that is almost like a pseudo-heroic for B-Kid. And you mentioned some of the strengths of having a Tyrande on your team. Scout it out.
Tribute on bottom, as Endemic, knowing without the 10s, not able to contest. As you saw that backdoor on the boss, you highlighted that Tiger got the reveal there. But this gives the curse to Simplicity. Giants are going to be picked up to deal with the curse on the top half of the battleground. That's going to force somebody on Simplicity to rid of that if they want any pressure there in the top half with their curse.
And the Knights just now picked up mid, so 50 seconds left on this. Tiger JK will move forward. And the respect from Cure, the composition of Simplicity can ignore walls. Between the Tyrael and the Maiev will just simply walk past it all. So Cure will rotate out. They'll concede this bottom court and take care of the lanes in the top and middle for Endemic.
But Endemic, with that double camp decision-making, has bought a lot of time. And now they're going to be going for that backdoor into the boss like you saw. It was scouted by Tiger JK. They do also have Giants pushing bottom. A big victory there for Simplicity, and the fact that they have those Giants still on the bottom half of the battleground, forcing somebody to answer. Endemic now sending the Junkrat back, get the second owl, get the reveal. See that Endemic is not contesting.
Oh, Zuma's here. Should have enough essence and ability to survive, so the body blocks are going to be there. Dark Swarm will allow him to pass. Might be down. See if he has it there. That'll allow him to pass through the heroic units. And now we'll see them try and turn this. They come in. A massive taunt here will lock in multiple members. Sanctification down, as well as the Starfall coming in. That's another 2 members down here on the side of Endemic.
That was a great rotation there by Simplicity to capitalize on Endemic going for that kill. Well, taking a little bit too long to catch out Zuna in the offlane, and now can back out, look to pick up their boss. I was going to say that Simplicity was in a tough position due to that double mercenary can't pick up, and their composition didn't get too much done in sieging, understandably so, based on how little ranged assassins exist within the composition. But then getting that counter kill and having this window to pick up this boss, they suddenly have met that rounding position to really control this battleground on Cursed Hollow. They get the reveal over this boss startup by Endemic. If the 13's picked up, Holy Ground will be picked up. If Endemic is going to all in the boss, this is the only Talontier spike they can make it happen, and they're going to.
Well, this is it. Simplicity, they're going to walk forward. Hosty trying to hold position. He's there for now. They get the toss out. Stun comes in. Riptire will jump over, find multiple members of Simplicity, but the taunt has locked in Johanna. That's going to be the first casualty. This concussion bind, but Hosty gets back on with the Ultruans.
Yeah, big impact trying to heal up the rest of the team. His Cure still going to be the focus. He's the man stuck on that island by himself there. Flip back from Calf as the Dragon's Arrow comes through, but it is too late. Top boss picked up, second boss on bottom, and maybe more. Concussion mine coming out, and the pickup on to Cure here. 2 members of Endemic dead for another 20 seconds. And this is going to be the moment for Simplicity to keep up their siege and keep up their advance. They are low enough in HP. You can see them backing to look for a tap, and at this point, it's unrealistic they can push with this boss. So likely a double mercenary or minimum giant pickup from them, and full control here on Cursed.
Due to the kills and the 2 forts that are down at this point, they've established a 2-level lead. We wondered what this composition would look like. Endemic, they've tried to go for a couple of, they went for their own boss, didn't get it. Tried to backdoor in Simplicity's boss, sniffed out by Tyrande. Tried it a second time, sniffed out by Tyrande. Any other support, maybe you have that advantage, you have a better time window. But Tyrande and Team Simplicity made a very good response on how quickly they peeled off that, and using Dahaka to finish that up and then coming in. So very well played by Simplicity to give them this early advantage.
But I am still not counting Endemic out of this at this point in time, J-Hal, mainly because other than one initiation, we haven't seen these teams really skirmish and go in a full battle. Every time Simplicity's gotten a kill before it really is going to matter, other than the boss here, as we see Iron's getting a huge Warden's Cage there coming out. It's the Scarlet Age is also going to be dropped. Big impact. And Dansky, kiting away, is able to heal up the rest of the squad. 13 talents here just around the corner from Endemic. But what I was going to say is, other than that top left tribute and that wiping with the first 3 kills, that was the momentum swing here for Simplicity. And yes, they have held on, but we actually haven't seen Endemic in a full team fight. And there is going to be an even-footed Talontier fight, I believe, here with the 13 to 15 over the next tribute. And if Endemic wins that, it might be a moment of recovery.
Yeah, they're going to need it. I think when we look forward, Dread, that if they don't get it on this next tribute, 16 will be picked up by Simplicity, and that 3rd tribute would come in again for Simplicity, have themselves another curse, and then see what they can make happen off that. It's never going to be about how much can we walk in and siege with this. It's going to be about, are you behind there? Because we will find you. We can now dive this even better than we could before, and we will come for you. And if they have that Talontier advantage, even better.
Endemic should know that this night camp is where Simplicity is positioned currently, based on the timing over the nights and the fact that nobody has revealed themselves for a long while. That owl definitely secured that amount of information, but nobody positioning themselves too much to maybe anchor off and go for an immediate channel. Cure even possibly getting caught out for a moment, had to use the jet propulsion. That's not buying enough time to stop this interrupt, I don't believe, as Johanna actually got flipped, leaving Big Impact alone, but there is the owl interrupt. Great job there by Tiger.
Here comes Zuna. The isolation's going to be there. He's going in now, Dread.
Yeah, he's going in, but Big Impact actually able to survive the entirety of that due to the crowd control there sent out by BK to get the peel. It's a big win here as we see the Dragon's Arrow actually going to get thrown down. Hosey pressured here for a moment.
16's almost here. If they're going to make something happen, Endemic has to do it now. Simplicity, See if they go in. Lunar Flare's going to land. King Caffeine trying to walk away. He's low on health. 30 armors there. Zuna just misses out on the drag, but here comes the Riptire.
The Riptire coming through, but not enough damage or even start onto the channel, so this Riptire might not have the impact they would like because Simplicity can just walk away, and now the 16 Talontier is going to be here. Zuna lands the drag, the Luna Flare comes through, Sanctification dropped down, and that is Tyrande out of here. The taunt is used, and we see the Scarlet Age just keeping Dansky and friends alive. Zuna's going to be the focus for Endemic. Get the chains and get the kill there on to King Caffeine. Down a 16 Talontier, and Endemic doesn't care.
Well, Simplicity, they had the global. They used it early in that fight to try and get that early engagement. Maybe thought that they had something that they didn't. Endemic, that 2-level lead now goes to 1 level. They get themselves back on somewhat even footing and will be able to contest every future shrine for the next few minutes. And boss timer as well, Dreadnought, will be a point of interest for both of these teams.
10 seconds towards the boss of Simplicity going to spawn with a 30-second difference towards Endemics over the bottom left. Tough position to be able to stall out with the 16 Talontier still not up quite yet, but with Garrosh not going to be joining the ranks of Simplicity for another 3, should be okay here for Endemic. The question is do they go for that split stall with a one-off like White Ming Hanzo backdoor attempt over their boss while still trying to threaten off with a 3-man over Simplicity? It's going to be tense, and with the Holy Ground picked up at this point, at no point do I really want to be competing here. Also, one thing we got to keep in mind too, Concussion Mine versus the Holy Ground. Every time the Holy Ground is going to come in, you still have the chance to be able to try and knock him off out of that area if you are the Junkrat here of Endemic.
Yeah, we saw that in that night camp on the bottom left as they tried to go. Hosty thought Kira might go top, would try and lock him in. Also an escape route if needed. We'll go ahead and back out. 16 versus 16 for these teams. 1-to-1 in that tribute count. We've been in this position before, and it was when Simplicity first got their big team fight. See if they can get another one here, whether Endemic can start to fight back after that last win.
Big scatter arrow there from Dansky starting things off. But Tiger JK is going to be able to heal that up. The Owl goes out as Big Impact still getting the channel, forcing Hosty to move up for the interrupt and the smite there. He ends up getting it, but the Condemn out from B-Kid stops the advance of all the rest of Simplicity, and now they do not want to deal with this skirmish. Big Impact starts another channel. This is going to be the second tribute picked up here for Endemic.
And now it's that boss thing. You mentioned the bosses before. The race heavily in favor of Endemic with the Hanzo. But you can take the Hanzo and replace him with anybody, and compositionally very different.
Cure, though, this is a big one. They need to get this kill on the Cure. Bunker is available, but the taunt comes out soon. Bunker afterwards, and that is a kill. They can't get the save, but can they buy enough time? The Owl's there. That was a very, very good Owl by Tiger JK. They know constantly the timer on that race capability over the boss itself. So Endemic should pick up the boss earlier or near dead even timing. Tribute goes over to Simplicity. And so we're going to find it as a even boss trade out, but Tribute sitting at 2-2 after it's all said and done.
I think it's very fortunate that Endemic picked up that last Tribute. Giving up that 1 kill there, and then a Tribute or Curse plus boss would be very condemning. So now we'll see the Tribute picked up. Next one will be Curse for both teams. Bosses picked up. No fort in the way for Simplicity. A fort standing here in the way. B-Kid will try and empower this boss as much as he can before, well, he doesn't need to hearth back. Simplicity not going to push with this boss, so will be a fairly free clear for Dansky.
Positioning over the next Tribute heavily in favor of Simplicity, though, when it comes to rotations and having Giants plus able to take the eye in this downtime with K1 Pro. I would like to see Endemic ensure that they get positioning over this Tribute very, very soon, just based on how much control in Simplicity has. Their comp wants you to be split. Endemic has only suffered whenever they aren't there as a full 5-man unit. And now it looks like they are going to be in that position within time. B-Kid did show there.
He's trying to snipe the eye. He'll only have control of it momentarily. It's King Caffeine and team. They'll pick up the Siege Giants and try and pressure out Dahaka in that top lane. See when he brush stalks in. That's the main component. As you can see, pings all on the back line. Whose side that's on is very different when you're looking at it from one side or the other.
OC with a big flank there on the left-hand side of your screen, going for the collapse. Not going to reveal himself quite yet.
I'm surprised they're not using the Dahaka more.
They're going to go
in this
for
situation.
But
here he comes. They're ready.
Big Impact's the focus. Kites around. Is he able to dodge the drag? The bunker is already there. Whitemane is able to get herself in there. The Dragon's Arrow thrown down. The Riptire is going to be there. Lunar Flare comes out. A lot of damage onto Tiger and King Caffeine, but Cure is surviving. They get the chains onto Hosty, and they get the damage out. The Angel of Justice is served just that there. And now Calf trying to retreat. Ends up using the Indomitable. Condemn in a second. Brings him back. There's the slow. Can Dansky hit the scatter?
Well, here's an interesting situation for Endemic Dreadnought. There's night camps, and there's going to be the toss over. I don't know if that's the one that you want there. King Caffeine not able to walk away. Okay, I was going to say it's not that bad because there's the Siege Giants bottom, the Night Camp mid, and the top lane was very well pushed out. But giving up the second kill now enables Endemic to not just move forward. They get one more kill here. All of a sudden, we're looking at game.
Yeah, and they don't have to worry about the keep damage or even the keep slow for that matter. K1 Pro having a Warden's Cage available, that is going to be the saving grace here for Simplicity, but they don't want to fight, at least not without Material Sanctification immediately afterwards. Bottom keep is going to fall victim to Endemic. The question is, what does Endemic do afterwards? Mikey Doll with that concussion mine will have one fast enough to not be a problem, but definitely a risky positioning at the first glance. Now Knight, or excuse me, not Knight, but middle fort is going to fall. Top fort going to fall. 20 advantage here for Endemic, and the keep pressure will be here. Likely to be a double keep, honestly, with the 20 spike that they have and how much siege advantage they have over Simplicity. Simplicity either has to all in or accept another row of catapults.
It's going to be interesting the way this plays out. Because Simplicity is sitting on 2 tributes, even if Endemic opts to make a boss call, which will be about a minute and a half out from where we're at now, Simplicity will be on 20. They'll have a curse threatening. And so Endemic's win condition, maybe not as clear as we've seen on some of the other ones, but Dreadnought, they have the catapult control, looking to maybe double down on that. For Endemic, though, without that, where do their win conditions come in? Outside of if they rip a fight here, which he's in trouble.
Yeah, forcing out the Iron Skin there. End up getting the blind afterwards. I think their win condition is just through the macro and demanding Simplicity to always be back. As long as they get themselves the double keep into their favor, it's going to be pretty easy to be able to rely on that. Because even if Simplicity does get this next curse, I don't think that they have lethal inevitably. As the combo goes down onto Hosty and the one-shot, one kill there. Beautiful chain CC coming out from Endemic, and now with the bunker down, can pick themselves up the keep.
I think Hosty is a fantastic player, one of the best range that we have, and I use the term range because sometimes you try these drafts. I don't know how much they've practiced him on Tyrael. Most HGC players can play a wide plethora of heroes. They can play just about anything. But to what level is always yet to be determined. That's a costly play there, as 25 seconds until they have that. And with the bosses spawning within 5 seconds, see if Endemic makes a call to try and get this boss while they have a numbers advantage.
They do. No holy ground, no problem. This is the last Hail Mary here for Simplicity. 4 versus 5, defense over this boss. If it goes over to Endemic, that is going to be game. Concussion Mine down. Boss slam, got to be dodged. Concussion Mine will go off. The Riptire is going to be there. Goes in, gets the damage onto K1. Concussion Mine's used, knocking back Zuna. Boss picked up tier 4. Endemic as the bunker goes down. K1 Pro finding a couple of resets here, but Endemic getting the first 2 pickups there. A third, a fourth, and a second as Zuna ends up dropping. And Endemic will take this series 3-0.
Play the game. I'll get to the core a little quicker. Hey, look where I'm at. You know, I mentioned that Simplicity was in a very decent spot still, despite the circumstances, despite losing the first keep. You lose one spoke of that wheel, and it all crumbles. And that pick onto Tyrael. Credit Endemic for scouting that out, making that play happen. Very well done by them. And that's going to net Endemic a 3-0 victory here over Simplicity. For Endemic, it's hard to really gauge where they're at because they played the macro game incredibly well against a team that was very team fight focused, drafted heavily towards the team fight, and Simplicity was in a commanding position at one point of this game, a 2-level lead. Endemic finished the comeback, but Endemic in all 3 games found their way back through the macro control here.
Yeah, if there was anything for me that I think really stood out for Endemic was this performance specifically out from Big Impact. He had a lot of pressure being applied to him with the melee deathball compositions. You saw over bottom with the brush shock, Tyrael flank even coming through. He was the kill target, but did a really good job timing with the Scarlet Aegises, making sure to get the damage and healing output. If you notice, even the very first skirmish they had on top, his Scarlet Aegis that hit the 4-man, he put a full rotation of spells in, held the entire team alive during that time frame. And it wasn't until Sanctification came in that he couldn't do any damage, was the only reason that was actually not a recovery point from Endemic. So for me, I felt like a lot of step up from him, and since the changes have come in, I feel like that has got to be one of those areas of constant that we look towards is within the support role there. So great job here from Endemic.
The teeter-tottering of that 6-7 spot is wild right now. Who's going to Crucible, who's not? Yesterday, LFM was in the 6th spot. They lost their games versus Octalysis. Simplicity moved back up. By Simplicity dropping, it's back there. And no tomorrow, they'll have a tough test next against Tempo Storm. If they can take that victory, which is a tough task, all of a sudden that 6, 7, 8 spot becomes a wild Week 10 weekend. It's going to be that way anyways. But every time these teams, we see the shift in focus. Endemic is pretty much locked into their spot, but it's that 6 seed, which is what Simplicity is playing for just to get into the playoffs. Major setback today. And if they were to get in that 6 seed, Dreadnought still, their opponent in the first round of the playoffs,
That's what I was about to bring up,
would be Endemic.
Yeah, this is a weird situation for Simplicity, knowing that they're up against Endemic, not only because if they make it out, you know, it's going to be, can you end up taking this opponent, but also when we look at the future schedule of all of our teams sitting at the bottom of the ladder, who is in range of the Crucible between No Tomorrow, LFM, and Simplicity. LFM and No Tomorrow play each other next weekend, and so that is a breaking point for either one of those teams. If LFM even finds a couple of victories there, or is going to really further that advantage, and you'd be like, okay, that's fine. What does Simplicity's future look like? And it is just the monster known as Heroes Hearth Esports sitting at the top of that. So to not get a win here against Endemic, though it isn't maybe the nail in the coffin, I feel like it is a very, very big setback for Simplicity.
Well, Endemic picked up the victory today. We get to talk to their new support player for the first time as we get Biggie on in this role. Biggie, congrats on the victory today. A nice clean 3-0 here.
Yep. What's up?
Well, for you guys, we know the role changes came in. You guys had a very good opening week on that, and then a shaky second week with a couple of subs. But you come in here with a clear macro focus and a change in draft style after Friday. After Friday in that series versus No Tomorrow, how did you guys collectively get together and try and rebound for today?
I mean, it wasn't really like a collectively get together. It was more like just, you know, chill out and focus up on the next match pretty much.
Well, we saw you guys against Team Freedom in dominant fashion, and you thwarted a lot of their macro play. That was a couple of weeks ago. But you come out today. We get Infernal Shrines, we get Sky Temple, and then Cursed Hollow. Things got somewhat shaky in the early part of this game, but the first 2 games was very dominant on the macro focus. And how much, you know, are you looking at other teams, learning from other teams? We've seen you guys play the macro game before. What was the strategy coming into the series?
I mean, strategy was like get what we're comfortable with, and I mean, the drafts we ran on Friday didn't work out, and it wasn't our style, so just kind of figure out what we excel at and kind of just step it up from there.
It worked out versus Simplicity. I'm going to send you over to Dread.
Biggie, I've got to ask, how does it feel now to not be doing all the damages and heal up the rest of Endemic? Are you enjoying your time here? How are you feeling about it?
I mean, when we're winning, it feels good. When we're losing, it feels like crap. Not gonna lie. Sometimes I miss DPS, but you know.
That's an interesting angle, actually. I've never really considered. You know, does I guess the winning versus losing dynamic, depending on the role, does it feel like that is bigger within the support than if you were to play the DPS?
I mean, when you're behind as a support, it feels kind of rough. Like, feel like you can never do enough. But when you're ahead, you feel like you can do everything. So, pretty much.
Yeah, kind of the world is your oyster there. Can pretty much make anything happen at that point. And I want to ask also with you guys here now, even keeping in the vein of the support, is with Taronda, you know, what is your personal interpretation of where she comes in? And also with how much double support we've seen, do you think that is maybe the future meta, if you will?
I mean, I think her and double support might be pretty good. I mean, not 100% sure, but I feel like she's definitely a strong hero, and she's a lot of fun. I like, you know, just stunning people randomly, and pissing them off. So
Since your time moving over to the support role, who is your favorite support? If you have the one go-to that you're like, biggest game of your life, who do you put yourself on?
I'm still pretty much figuring it out, but right now I'm liking Tyrande and Deckard a lot. I had a pretty hard on for Monk, but my team didn't let me play it, so kind of can't say that was my favorite.
Well, I hope we end up getting you in the future on the Cars team, because I feel like as a ex-DPS, moving over to the highest DPS or one of in the support role, I feel like that would look pretty good. I'm going to send you back over to J-How. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Biggie, you guys are locked into the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. Your next opponent, Tempo Storm, it could just be practice for you all. But you mentioned you didn't necessarily get the draft that you were comfortable with on Friday. You're still figuring out the DPS role. What are you guys going to focus on over the next week and a half, 2 weeks, to make sure you are primed and ready for a potential run at BlizzCon?
Pretty much focus up and adapt to draft faster. Like, I think we're one of the slower teams that are adapting to draft and figuring out our own meta. So that's one thing we need to work on the most. And then I guess just synergy and staying consistent. Because, I mean, looking at our record, it's like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, 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 win. So it's like just be consistent.
Well, consistency it will be required in our ladder playoff system, winning out. It's going to be fun to watch, but that's going to do it on the interview for today. The floor is yours for shout-outs.
Thank you. Shout-outs to my team. Shout-outs to our owners. Shout-outs to Twitch chat and my family for supporting me.
Congrats, Biggie. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, you too.
Dread, Endemic comes in. Quiet first 2 games, but that last game really lit up. Simplicity, lots of question marks still for them. It's going to be a wild ride when we get into the latter part of next week. But next up, No Tomorrow. Look like a team reborn on Friday, and they get Tempo Storm. We get to find out if that's real or not.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see this. I think that the gap, even with the evolved version of No Tomorrow, is still going to be very much them being the underdog story here, but the level of competitiveness of the series I expect to be a lot closer than I maybe originally would have in the past, and it's going to be cool to see, how much does that carry over to multiple series, and does it change depending on their opponent? Because I look at No Tomorrow as a team that usually plays up to their opponent, so if that was them, earlier against a team like Tempo, we might get the best performance from them yet.
We had painted the picture of No Tomorrow. They pick up a game in every one of their series. Well, Friday they picked up a W. We're going to see if they can pick up another one. We've got No Tomorrow versus Tempo Storm coming up next. We'll be back after this break. See you then. Comes out. Looks like they're going to accomplish just this as the Riptire was used. The Dragon Queen's still out. See if Simplicity can try and turn this, but here comes the Cleansing Flame.
K1 getting knocked back by the concussion mine, set them back a lot, trying to start and force that initiation, and now actually Hosey getting caught out there, taking the damage, and now down a member. Simplicity might not be able to take this initiation. The Dragon's Arrow locks down 2, the follow-up with Cure landing the jet propulsion. 2 members of Simplicity are done, and now Zuna trying to spin to win to kite out. The oil is there, the jet propulsion follow-up. 2-man condemned, bringing it back. The bunker body block. Zuna goes down with that flamethrower. 3 kills picked up by Endemic. I did therefore. They have Wave of Force on their side as well. That's a lot of boss control, but Cap actually falling pretty well. Isolation already used onto K1 Pro. He's going to go down there as the 7-sided strike is used before the fight even really happens. Dragon's Arrow lands onto the Urel. Another kill setup. Punches coming out from Tiger
Biggie.
JK, but Biggie with those heals keeps himself alive. 3 kills picked up for Endemic. I don't think this is too confident from Endemic because of the catapults, but this is definitely not an easy win, at least at this point.
They could just back up. Well, if they get a kill, that will make it a lot easier, and they instantly blow up Murden. There's going to be some resets on the Fan of Knives. Biggie's staying alive for now. 7-sided strike being worn by several members as 2 make it 3, make it 4. And Zuna, will he make it 5? That's going to be everybody on Simplicity dropping here. That might be down. See if he has it there. That'll allow him to pass through the heroic units.
Okay.
Now we'll see them try and turn this. They come in. A massive taunt here will lock in multiple members. Sanctification down as well as the Starfall coming in. That's another 2 members down here on the side of Endemic. Now they're going to walk forward. Hosty trying to hold position. He's there for now. They get the toss out. Stun comes in. Riptire will jump over, find multiple members of Simplicity, but the taunt has locked in Johanna. That's going to be the first casualty of this concussion mine, but Hosty gets back on with the Ultra.
Yeah, big impact trying to heal up the rest of the team. Is Cure still going to be the focus? He's the man stuck on that island by himself there. Flip back from Cap as the Dragon's Arrow comes through. but it is too late. Top boss picked up, second boss on bottom, and maybe more. Concussion Mine coming out, and the pickup on to Cure here. 2
Bumps. They're ready.
Big impacts the focus. Kites around. Is he able to dodge the drag? The bunker is already there. Whitemane is able to get herself in there. The Dragon's Arrow thrown down. The Riptire is going to be there. Lunar Flare comes out. A lot of damage onto Tiger and King Caffeine, but Cure is surviving. They get the chains onto Hosty, and they get the damage out. The Angel of Justice is served just that there. And now Caff trying to retreat. And Endemic, that is going to be gained. Concussion Mine down. Boss Slam, got to be dodged. Concussion Mine will go off. The Riptire is going to be there. Goes in, gets the damage onto K1. Concussion Mine's used, knocking back Zuna. Boss picked up tier 4. Endemic as the bunker goes down. K1 Pro finding a couple of resets here, but Endemic getting the first 2 pickups there. A third, a fourth, and a second as Zuna ends up dropping. And Endemic will take this series 3-0.